Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. New York State is doing it, so you can expect that the Illinois General Assembly will take it up when they reconvene next year. The Rest Stop Restaurant Act.
Oh, please, do tell. What is this?
The Rest Stop Restaurant Act will mandate that restaurants at rest stops, or think, oases in Chicagoland, expressway oases, rest stops around the state, will require all the restaurants at these rest stops to be open 7 days a week. But one of the restaurants, the only restaurant that's impacted, is Chick-fil-A.
Because they're closed on Sundays.
Right, and always has been, even as Chick-fil-A has fallen in my estimation because, as usual, the offspring is not as talented and courageous as the founder. So as a transition from Pruitt Cathy to Dan Cathy, Chick-fil-A started doing things like giving up on charitable contributions to organizations that had any sort of perceived American, much less conservative bent, for fear of being targeted by the left. Of course, that targeting comes anyway, but I digress.
Well, remember when they couldn't come here because Rahm Emanuel said they didn't share Chicago's values?
Yeah, exactly.
And now they're everywhere in Chicago.
And here's the state legislator responsible for this enlightened measure, Tony Simone, explaining.
Sunday, Christmas Eve, thousands of New Yorkers are traveling to their families to find closed restaurants at rest areas across the state.
Which isn't an issue for most restaurants, but does single out one, Chick-fil-A.
We get hungry when we're traveling.
Aww.
You may not like our brother-in-law's or sister-in-law's cooking, get a snack on Christmas Eve. To find one of our restaurants closed at a thruway is just not in the public good.
Oh my
It's
God.
not in the public interest.
The whiner.
By the way, access to a restaurant on a rest stop is not a constitutional right, but even setting that aside, there are other restaurants at these rest stops.
Does that guy have a man bun?
Tony Simone, I'm not familiar with him other than this bubbling up to the surface with this idiocy. For more on this sort of imperious legislating from our no-betters in public office, pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of Govzilla. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. I was just listening to your conversation. I'm not sure I get it. So the law would require that restaurants are open 7 days a week? Is that the...
Yes, right. Chick-fil-A is not open on Sundays. It would require Chick-fil-A to open on Sundays.
I have a new law. They
Okay.
also have to be open 24 hours a day. Because sometimes I want a Burger King at
Well, there's people who work the third shift who are hungry,
Exactly. Yes.
I always demand that they make French fries at 10 in the morning at McDonald's. I say, no. This is my lunch at 10 a.m. And they comply, but I have to pull over.
I get so angry.
Well, that's it.
I want breakfast all day.
I want breakfast all day. I want lunch at 10:30. All these things should be legislated, obviously.
And this is my right as an American citizen. I have a constitutional right to go to a restaurant at 3 in the morning and see that it's open. I mean, come on. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I'm sure this guy, Simone, has never been in business his whole life, I'm sure. But this is the new modern left, that they treat businesses as if they're social welfare agencies. Look, I'm going to say something very controversial. Businesses are in business to make money.
Yeah, right. We've heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Restaurants are in business to make money.
They're public goods.
I mean, it's almost like I think he sort of said that in a roundabout way. They have a public responsibility to be open 7 days a week. By the way, does that mean they have to be open on Christmas Day and on Easter and on Thanksgiving? Or?
Yeah, well, he could be driving to his brother-in-law's on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and he needs a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I'm with him on that. I mean, this is my right as an American citizen.
Absolutely. So what do you think about this, speaking of business? Now, this is on the other side, ostensibly, the protectionist impulses of both parties. We got to protect American businesses from competition, and it turns out not to be very helpful, those protections. So the story of Nippon Steel's $14 billion deal to buy U.S. steel which is rankling some lawmakers, including Republicans like J.D. Vance. And this is U.S. Steel looking to sell after they've got renewed demand for steel because of all the public infrastructure spend coming out of the administration, and also
Don't forget,
interestingly,
by the way, you need a lot of steel if you're going to build windmills.
and there's no question. And also, interestingly, too, they've been able to reduce their overhead since they've been protected. I know it was supposed to protect jobs when Trump imposed these 25% tariffs on foreign steel, yet they had 29,000 employees in 2018, and they've got less than 23,000 today. The story of U.S. Steel.
Yep. So there's a couple of elements of this story. Let's go back a day or two before that announcement came. Since the last time we talked. The other thing that happened on the trade front, which is really quite depressing, is that the Joe Biden has announced that he is not going to pursue a free trade agreement with Great Britain because those British workers, they'll work for like $2 an hour. We can't have them undercutting us on wages, and so it's really crazy. This is something free traders like myself have been working on for 10 years, and we come on, we can't have a free trade agreement with our closest ally, which is also a high-wage country. And Biden said, oh, no, the unions won't let me do it. So he squashed that. And then now the situation with the steel, like, do I like it when these steel companies are being bought up by foreigners? I don't like it, but it's a private company. Anybody who wants to buy it should buy it. But I think the bigger story here is that Biden has imposed so many regulations on these businesses. He's put a dent in our energy situation, so we're facing higher energy costs. All these kinds of things and taxes, and so they load all of these costs on American businesses, and then they wonder why they're being sold.
Well, but U.S. Steel too. U.S. Steel is living by the government and dying by the government, so to speak.
That's true.
And so this is also a story about the folly of industrial policy, which both parties engage in.
Well put. And so we put all this money into them, and then they're being bought up by the Japanese. There's an old saying, by the way, that you can build windmills with steel, but you can't build steel with windmills.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to do in this country. Is we're just derailing our energy. It's really crazy. They want to get rid of the natural gas, the coal, blah blah blah. So I think this is the first, the first domino that's falling here, because we're shooting ourselves in the foot under Biden's crazy tax, regulatory, and anti-energy policies.
Now, speaking of Biden, according to CNN, his staffers say that he's getting anxious and frustrated that Americans aren't adopting his new economy. That people aren't embracing this.
I know. I don't understand it.
Do you think he ever goes grocery shopping?
Yeah. So, look, first of all, we're 5 days before Christmas, so I will say this. The economy has gotten better, no doubt about it. Look at the stock market. I mean, it's been a boom market. So that's good. I want people to make money. I don't want people to lose jobs. I don't root against the economy. But I think that what you've got here, Amy, it's a great point. The people in Washington, D.C., by the way, there's no problems here in Washington, D.C. I mean, we're living high on the hog here inside the Beltway. We are the swamp, and nobody's going to drain this swamp. And yet people outside of Washington, D.C., in Main Street America, they're not feeling the love because they're the people who've been the victims of the 20% increases in prices. And for middle and lower income people, that's caused real hardship. Now, I know none of the politicians understand that. Nobody in the White House understands that. So they just sit there and say, gee, why are people complaining? We've done such a great job. No, you haven't. You're making everything more expensive. People are having to borrow to pay their bills. People's real incomes have fallen by about $2,000 per family. How is that a good performance? If they want to call that Bidenomics, they can have it.
Another aspect of this, too, I mean, you were talking about sort of the administrative state, sort of the regulatory burdens, and how it hurts friends and enemies alike, politically speaking. So here, with respect to labor unions, the Labor Department recently proposed a 776-page rule to clarify a 2-page 1937 law regulating apprenticeship programs. I can only imagine the clarity that adds. And of course, these apprenticeship programs, we talk about it all the time. If you not everybody's going to go to college, go to an apprenticeship program, get into a trade union. These apprenticeship programs are promoted by the trade unions. They're often done in conjunction with management and a joint between management and trade unions. But here the problem is they're not compliant with the grand vision for diversity, equity, and inclusion that the administration has. So now there's a requirement of at least 2,000 hours of on-the-job training, even though many can train workers in less time. There has to be accessible and equitable facilities, bathrooms that correspond to gender identity, personal protective equipment, and so on. I mean, 775 pages to clarify two-page law from 90 years ago.
So this is really outrageous because I'm a huge fan of apprenticeship programs. We need those. We need people who get training, and you could make the case. Why is it that you pay an apprentice, but the person has to pay to go to college? I mean, wouldn't it be better to do an apprenticeship program and actually get paid to be trained rather than to pay $60,000 to go to some university like Harvard, which is undermining our social values in this country? And so the best thing you can have is very vibrant apprenticeship programs. So we need more electricians. We need more nurses. We need more people who can do things in this country. Every one of those, industries where people actually make things or repair things, those industries, there's huge shortages. And people, by the way, a plumber, an electrician, a welder, those people make over $100,000 a year after 3 years on the job.
We had a plumber come to our high school, my kid's high school, and speak. He's making $1 million a year. Okay, hello. I mean, he built the company up, and it wasn't
supply and demand,
right?
Or he's got a lot of good city contracts, one of the two.
Well, maybe a little bit of that. True. But he had a great truck. He showed them a truck and his business plan, and I don't know. I thought it woke people up to the trades.
By the way, you guys, you started this conversation, Dan, by talking about this crazy new law that your genius politicians in Springfield want.
No, New York.
It just came out yesterday, these new census data through July of 2023. I will give you each $1 if you can tell me the 3 states that lost the most population in the last year.
California, New York, Illinois.
You got it. And by the way, that's been the case for like 10 years now. It is so sad, and you can't. It seems like there's nothing that these politicians can do to stop this migration out of the state. In fact, everything they're doing is accelerating the out-migration, and it's sad to see. I have to say, it's sad to see the great state of Illinois being ruined by politicians. I mean, I think it was another 75,000 people left Illinois.
84,000. Yeah.
84,000.
Yep. Yeah. Just another year.
California. By the way, how about this? California, if this is amazing, California, if that trend continues since 2020 through July of 2023, if it continues for the rest of the decade, California will lose 4 or 5 congressional seats.
Well, that would be positive, actually. Yeah.
It sure would.
Same thing goes for Illinois and New York and New Jersey as well. So keep the flight going south and southwest and southeast. Absolutely.
Well, I'm coming to Chicago on Saturday, and I'm going to stay downtown, see all the wonderful decorations and all the lights and a great restaurant. I mean, it's a great, 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 great city. It's just being ruined by really, really, really bad politicians.
Just make sure you bring your personal protective detail with you.
It's that bad, huh?
Well, just keep your head on a swivel.
Not great.
I was there last night, got scared to death, so good luck to you, Steve.
Merry Christmas, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, bye.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm Dave Nissen, CEO of PKF Mueller. As a CPA firm, we have been serving our business clients since 1968 by providing audit, accounting, tax, advisory, and consulting services. We as trusted advisors go beyond what our clients hired us to do by thinking outside the box to understand their operations and industry. We want to discuss